You always have a choice to look at your past, present circumstances that could be coming down the road and choose how you're going to act, what the meaning you're going to assign to it is. Sometimes we let the world assign the meaning, and you have a choice on what things mean.
One of the things that really stands out to me, that is truly identifying what it is you want. What it is you want needs to be way more specific than I want to make more money or I want a bigger house. You really need to define what it is you're after. What are you trying to create?
What if God said, well, I've got enough of my kids have made it back, like are going to make it to heaven. Like I'm done. Like, what if God gave up on creating more and having more and wanting more? And I think there's a space for both, right?
Welcome to the Everyday Leader Podcast. Leadership is a choice. Join me, Matt, and my co-hosts Drew and Tate each episode as we break down how to lead powerfully in your family, team, and organization.
Welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Leader Podcast. Today it's just Tate and I. Matt said he's too busy for us, and he can't defend himself because he's not here.
And I'm
Tate and I
slightly offended.
We're choosing to be offended. Tate and I were just talking before this rolled about some of the things we could talk about, some of the things that are present for us in our lives, some of the podcasts or people in our life we've listened to, and I think the theme we'd like to just dive into a little bit today, and this will probably go a few different ways. We don't have this conversation mapped out, and we want to just talk about being grateful for the season you're in, whatever season that may be. I know for some of you listening, you might be in a season of abundance or prosperity. Some of you listening might be in a season of grief and strife and pain, or something in between those two. And I'm learning, not perfect at this, and I'm learning to be grateful for those seasons when you're in them. And so I was just telling Tate before we jumped on, we talked about this on last week's episode about the event the Abundant Man Project put on. We've had a lot of men join our program. In fact, probably more than I anticipated would, which is a great problem as a business owner to have more customers than you were expected coming in the door. And it's like, oh, I'm a lot busier than I thought I'd be post event. And I'm just being very grateful for that, because there's been other times where would have just been dying to be busy. And that might resonate with some of you. What about you, Tate? What's a current season of your life?
Ooh, I should have expected a question like that. I'm trying to find the best way to summarize it. So currently in the second year of taking over our business, mine and my brother's business, Sun Pumps. And what they tell you is true. The first couple, 2-3 years of any business, whether it's starting or coming in and taking over, is the most challenging. You're paying for things, you're figuring it out, you're trying to keep bills paid and then things flowing, and it brings a whole level of challenges. And each business is slightly unique, and the same aspect of you've got to accomplish the same goals just to be solvent and stay effective as a business. That being said, I've got my kids are 7 and 9, and chasing kids and being involved in all the things that come with that, from gymnastics to karate to baseball to dance to raising animals for our county fair and traveling for business. I've been fortunate enough to involve my kids at times in some of the travels and interactions with people. The ag industry, from my perspective, is amazing. At that being widely accepted, as far as, if you take kids to a meeting or an event, or, within reason. Obviously there's times where it's not appropriate, but in general, the industry accepts that, and I'm very grateful for that, because it gives me the opportunity to give my kids opportunities to watch and witness and learn, and I think there's a ton of value that sometimes we forget in that how much kids absorb just from being exposed to things. And so very grateful for that. So I guess to answer your question, it's a very chaotic time.
Yeah.
And in a weird way, for me personally, it's also been one of the more peaceful times of my life.
Oh, that's cool.
And I don't know how to effectively describe that and how to hold both of those at the same time. But for me, the last few years, I've taken on really understanding, working to understand who I am, my purpose, where I can help people, help myself, lead my family. Just what are we trying to do in this life, and just really trying to ground all that. And for me, that's brought a lot of peace in the chaos.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress, and it always will be, I think. But talking about how you started this with some of the recent podcasts of ours, a friend was a guest on it, and one of the things he talked about was being questioned by a friend of, when is enough enough? And he basically described that as damnation and the devil at work in creating a dam and saying, hey, a dam is the stop of progress. And to me, it was a really impactful statement, simply because you do get asked that sometimes, and we don't want to be greedy necessarily. And I don't know that progress always has to be centered around money.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm kind of going with this. It's just the internal work for me in progress, and building things around it to where you can be more impactful and keep progressing. And so just kind of an interesting thought to summarize that question. I know that was really long-winded, but
you got my brain firing though, Tate. I have 2 or 3 things I'm going to throw out. Maybe we can just go through some of these. One, I love what you said about peace and chaos. I think that would be good for us to explore a little bit. The other thought that just popped in my mind as you were talking is like, what if God said, "Oh, I've got enough. enough of my kids have made it back, like are going to make it to heaven. Like I'm done." Like, what if God gave up on creating more and having more and wanting more? And I think there's a space for both, right? Where you can be extremely grateful for where you're at and have a desire to continue to progress and grow and build and create and serve others and serve more and impact more. And those were just like the 2 things that popped in my head while you're talking. But yeah, the peace and the chaos. Like I feel like my experience has been, I used to feel like my environment created whether or not there was peace or chaos internally. And I've learned as well, and I'm still learning this, that I can choose my focus and choose to have peace regardless of the external circumstances in my life. And so, talking about being grateful for seasons, I'll share a season from last year. So I've shared parts of this broader story, but like I was making fantastic money, leading huge teams, feeling successful on paper and empty inside, walked away from a lot of that to go try and build and help more people in a different way. And starting a new business has been challenging at times. And we went on a road trip last year with our kids. And the income has been up and down at times the last couple of years, bring in some clients, have some good money, and then not have any for a few months. And so learning how to like run a new business and market has been challenging and exciting, and lots of learning and lots of growth. And anyways, we go on this trip, and a month or so before, we'd gotten a car accident, totaled our main vehicle. So I had a backup. It was my airport car, that I luckily bought a few years before, and it's it's an okay vehicle. It needs the paint's worn out, and the AC works. Like that's the thing I'm probably most grateful for about this whole stuff. Anyways, we take this car on a trip, and I'm thinking, man, I'm nervous about this is an older vehicle. We're taking it on the family trip. We haven't replaced the main car yet, and we had an awesome trip. And we also lost every tire on the trip. Made it back with like dollars to spare in my bank account. Like, and I remember just like I'm negotiating on the side of the road with the guys at the tire shops trying to get the cheap tires because I'm broke at this time. And also like, man, this is, and where this would have like stressed me out, and where I'm also thinking like, man, I used to be making so much money I never even would check my bank account when I needed an expense like this comes up, to like now I'm negotiating on the side of the freeway in California for a used tire for my car. And like the me from 5 years ago would have been so stressed out and so miserable on that trip, and it was like so fun and exciting and enjoyable. And like I can also recognize like making money is good and provide some peace when you don't have to worry about that. But I just remember like feeling like, man, this has been good for me to have lack financially, because I've learned to not let my happiness be determined by what I don't have, if that makes sense. So anyways, that's just a little story of like a chaotic road trip, and like learning to find peace and be happy despite things going wrong and money being tight. And it was awesome.
So just in like a theoretical mindset for myself around some of this, and we all have quotes and stuff that we fall back on, and they're probably all terrible at actually following and listening to them.
Yeah.
But I've always thought, and I can't remember where I first heard it, but it's basically if everything was always good, went the way you planned, there was never any challenges, what would you appreciate? And for me, it makes me take pause in that, we all know challenges are there for everyone. Nobody escapes challenges. They come in different flavors, sizes, colors. But to add to that is, I also believe that that's where true growth happens. You're never pushed. You're never challenged. When things are good, you're never trying to be your full potential. You're never trying to be your best or better yourself when you don't have to.
Yeah.
And so to me, I've come to realize that, and it's a weird way, I guess, for some to stop and appreciate the challenges, the chaos.
That's where all the growth is. Yep. Yeah. And I found sometimes that's just hard to recognize in the moment. It's hard to recognize like, hey, this time right now that isn't easy, that's testing me in every way possible, is actually the best thing for me. And will if I choose to, like if I choose to make it the best thing for me, it can be.
Yeah.
And I mean, we talk about it all the time, like whatever your life is, if you're unhappy with it, well, it's your fault. You're the problem, which means you're also the solution. And you can't always control the circumstances, and you can control how you react to those things. And so, yeah, anyways.
Yeah, try to get through my thought here. So I mean, we've talked about it briefly, but I lost my mom a little over a year ago, and my mom was just an absolute amazing person. And not that not everybody comes with their faults. I mean, there's always things, but my mom truly was just an amazing person. She loved everyone. And I mean that, and she would truly do anything for anyone. But just honestly, in the last few weeks, I've come to the realization that may have been a catalyst for me to take the next steps that I needed to in my personal life. And it's so bizarre to realize that, man, some of the pain, some of the anguish, some of the regret, all the things that come around the loss of a beloved one like that, and how there can truly be good in that. Because there's certain things that I don't know if I would have done different. I don't know if I would have ever taken serious. I don't know. She was supportive almost to a fault of anything we ever wanted to do. And I know that sounds bizarre, but it's the truth. And it's just, it's changed the way I see certain things. It's changed. And this has all been, this wasn't an instantaneous change. I mean, this is still happening as we speak. And it's probably gobbledygook the way I'm getting it out at the moment, but forever grateful for what I had and the experiences I had and the mother that I had. And in some ways, she's still teaching. So,
can you share something you've learned through that, Tate? Maybe you don't want me to ask that.
No, it has. It's been an evolution and just circumstances outside of just the loss of my mom around those times, and it was just a really challenging time for my family, and me. And she was always such the corner post to it all. She was always very good at just being the glue, and she always had advice. Whether it was always good advice or not, I don't know. But as her child, she knew a lot. She had experienced a ton. She had accomplished so many things, and even though it wasn't always forefront of a lot of things, she just made an impact on so many people. And I guess for me, I realized that she was such a good backboard at times that it allowed me to not challenge myself to the degree I needed to continue to grow. She was so good at having the answers or finding the answers or, yeah. And so I guess I don't know how else to say it other than it's created, just the environment for me to go out and really step out in ways I needed to, or I wanted to. I don't know if that answers your question directly enough, but.
Well, it sounds like you're saying, Tate, like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but she was maybe quick to support and give you the answers, and the growth has come, meaning, hey, I've got to figure out some of these things that I can't just pick up the phone and call mom for anymore.
In a very simplistic way, yeah.
Yeah, right. That's probably oversimplifying it, but
yeah. It so, and I don't want to be controversial in this next statement, but this is one of the comments that really made me stop and pause on it around some of this, and it goes back to faith. And one of our acquaintances that we know has been kind of open about his decision to leave his structured religion, and has talked about some of the reasons why. And he's got really well thought out, not just and a really interesting story, really. But during after that decision, several months, he talked about how in one of his conversations with God, he was really struggling and going, okay, why is this happening? Why did I feel like you wanted me to do this? And what he felt God putting back on him was essentially, when you had the church, you didn't need me.
Yeah.
And I mean, that may strike a note for some people in a completely different way, but it was also something in my faith journey that kind of struck me with my mom, and that she was always so religious. She went to church. She studied. She was always quoting the Bible. She was all like encouraging us, inviting us, and in a way, you almost, whether it makes sense or not, inadvertently think, well, I'm getting what I need to through my mom, and that simply wasn't true to the degree that I was making decisions that maybe affected my relationship with God in a way that didn't make sense, because I felt like I was full in the moment because of an interaction I was having outside of that. And the real answer was I needed to have that relationship directly.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, that comment's interesting too, of like, that's not where I thought we'd go today, but sometimes having something, in that example, he uses the church. He didn't need God because he could just, what's the church said, or what's my church taught, and I don't have to figure these things out. I just follow it because that's what I've been told and what I've been taught. And how often do we do that, whether it's the church we belong to or the group we're a part of, and we sometimes take that for granted. So
Absolutely. And like I said, I'm not expecting that to mean anything it shouldn't for anyone else. It just was a very impactful statement that I was able to apply in really a different way than he was even saying it.
yeah,
It was just stuck.
yeah, yep. Well, let's jump back into what you were talking about earlier about just being grateful for not well, and I mean, you talked about just like, hey, when's enough enough? And almost like there's almost sometimes this feeling too of like, if you keep looking for more, you must not be grateful for what you currently have. And I don't believe that's true. And I think that feeling exists out there. That you must not be grateful if you're searching, wanting more. And my experience is you can have both. You can want more for yourself and for others and be grateful. I think it's a hard line. I think it's a hard line to experience both. I think a lot of times when you want more, you look at what you're lacking instead of saying, hey, this is what I'm grateful for, what I have, and I want to add to it. Right.
Yeah. So for me personally, a lot of my life, I spent asking the questions of what is somebody's motive in any scenario? Why is it they want this? Why is it they're asking for this? What are they after?
Yeah.
And I think it's an important question, but I feel like I was asking the wrong person or directing it at the wrong person. Because I think we do need to protect ourselves and be aware at times, but really somebody else's motives aren't relevant to me. They really shouldn't matter to me.
Right. Yep.
I should make the decisions that, what are my motives? What am I trying to accomplish? What am I trying to do? Why am I doing this? And that's really the only thing I can know and control or is worth spending any time or space in, because the reality of it is we're not asked to help people that deserve it or help people that ask it the right way, or are going to go on and pay it forward and not help people that aren't going to. We're asked just to serve people and love people, and that's our job. And so kind of tying it back into the season of it all, I think a lot of the things I just talked about and the examples I gave are some of the journeys I've had to go through to find that place of chaos and peace that you're talking about.
Yeah.
To ask some of these questions to myself and spend time in prayer and thought and just back to the self-work in the season. And I guess to summarize the season around chaos and peace, it's been the journey of personal growth for me. And I think that has helped create the peace portion of that season.
If we have to tie this all into our theme, I think that's like just leading yourself, like the theme of our podcast of leadership. Like a lot of this starts by, hey, can I actually lead myself through these circumstances in life? Can I actually be grounded on who I am when times get tough? Or even to someone questioning why you want more or what you're going to do, like to be so clear on who you are and what you want and why it's important to you that you don't have to justify it. Sometimes we feel like we have to, and I've learned I don't have to explain to people why I want some things that I have or why I'm doing things. I mean, I can choose to. I can, if it seems appropriate and they're genuine, but I've also learned I don't have to apologize for wanting to have peace in my life and to help others find that and to create more for others. And a lot of that goes back to like, am I leading myself? Am I developing myself? Am I clear on who I am? Am I clear on what I want in my life? And when you do that, like, at least my experience has been, Tate, when I'm clear on who I am and what I want, like, man, I can do some incredible things. Mm-hmm. And part of that too is like, for me, it's kind of been a grind the last couple months. Running up to this event before and post has put me in circumstances and positions that I don't think an older me would have been able to handle or do or perform the way I have. And it's come because I've gotten really clear on this is who I am. This is what I want to create. And so I'm willing to work and willing to put an effort for it that's really fulfilling and rewarding at the same time. I don't know if I'm rambling or if I'm making sense, Tate, but
yeah, we might be rambling and all the way around. And hopefully there's still tidbits that stand out to people and is helpful. And just listening to you speak right there, though, one of the things that really stands out to me, and honestly, I'm not great at this yet, and that is truly identifying what it is you want and those goal settings. And I think we spend a lot of time talking about it, so it is present on my mind, and you can answer some basic questions. But I think the more you can continue to drive into that and clarify that and visit it, keep it fresh and frequent in your mind, because those are the only ways you're really ever going to truly work towards what it is you want.
Right.
And I'll challenge you to what it is you want needs to be way more specific than I want to make more money.
Yeah.
Or I want a bigger house. Or you really need to define what it is you're after. What are you trying to create?
Part of it, right? But it's not, it's got to be more than that, right?
Yeah. And well, I mean, if you want to make it completely money-based, I mean, that's fine. But rather than saying, I want to make more money, say, hey, I want to make $500,000 a year. because now you really have a benchmark that you're trying to achieve. And you start asking different questions of yourself of, what does it take for me to do that? Who do I have to be? Where do I have to be? What do I have to do to accomplish that? Where is I want to make more money. The hell does that mean?
Right. And to our listener, if you're thinking, well, I know what I want. How come I'm not getting it? Like, we're not saying like, I wish I made more or I want to help lots of people. It's like to the point where it is the only thing. Like, you're so specific where like, this is the thing I want in my life. And if you get super specific on it, Tate, what I'm realizing is then the lens through making decisions is, does this help me get there or not?
It's all about that.
And too often we say we want something, we don't really. We want too many things. We won't get specific. We won't pick something most important. And so our actions and our judgments and our decision making aren't clear because we aren't clear on what we actually want. But when you get really clear, it's like sometimes that means leaving things behind or walking away from things you normally would like to do or that's fun and enjoyable because you've just decided this is the most important thing, and whatever it takes, I'm going to create this.
There is, I think having multiple goals and is okay. I mean, obviously you have to have it pared down to a
pick one goal and that's it, right?
Yeah. No, obviously you have to have it pared down to a reasonable amount. But at the end of the day, to your point, there's 24 hours in a day. If you're working a 9 to 5, that's 8 hours out of your day. If you're sleeping 8 hours a day, that means you've got an additional 8 to do what? What are you doing with those 8 hours a day? Okay, well, maybe, those are the non-negotiables because you're going to coach your kids' teams. You're going to go to their ball games. You're going to do all those things. Okay. Well, now you're back to how much are you willing to sleep that's healthy? And is the 8 hours I'm spending at my 9 to 5 really getting me closer to what my big goal is? To your point, making those hard decisions on maybe it's a bigger change than you think that you have to make. And I mean, it's not necessarily turning everything on its head, but it's like, okay, how do you create the space where you're actually working towards your goals? And maybe that is a minor adjustment in occupation. Maybe that's an adjustment in where you physically are. Maybe that's adding the after hours job. Maybe that's, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be different for everyone.
Yeah. As an example, Tate, one of the things I've decided I really want is for my family to get present me every week. I'm not 100% on this. I don't achieve it perfectly. And that's sometimes meant where in the past, kind of being an entrepreneur, kind of being in roles where I, previously and now have multiple clients that I serve, I've sometimes made myself so available because it's like, well, I want to serve. I want to take care of this client. I want to make sure they get the best experience from me. But to say I'm really going to be present with my kids means I sometimes tell a client, hey, I'll get to you back tomorrow. Or I don't respond to a text for 2 hours. Or, and just deciding like, hey, there's going to be times of my day where my focus is here because that's what I really want. And I'll bend over and move things to make it happen. And then there's times where like I've talked about these last couple of weeks where it's a season of busy and my kids know, hey, Sunday doing the puzzles with dad at the kitchen table is probably going to be our time together this week. But I'm clear about it and they know, hey, right now you're getting dad because there's going to be a couple of days of dad being busy and gone this week. And as I've gotten more clear on those things, it's made the actions easier. It's like, it's easier to say no to a client and put some perspective into it. And often I've found when I used to feel like I had to drop everything to respond to a client, like they're usually pretty understanding and happy to wait a couple hours as long as they know I'm going to respond and get back to them.
Well, and that's just it. I know for me, just being clear on what somebody can expect from you.
Right.
So I'll say this: being somebody that was the hyper responsive, answer a text in the moment, answer the phone in the middle of another conversation, which is super rude and drives me crazy. I was absolutely that guy in the past. And so when you make that change, especially to the people that are used to you behaving that way,
Right. Yeah.
they don't know what to think. They'll be mad at you. They'll think you're mad at them. They'll think, oh, they're ignoring me, yada, yada, yada. When in the reality of it is you've changed your boundaries. And, at times it's appropriate to communicate that to them. And I'll be completely honest. You can tell them specifically, hey, I'm going to be very intentional about this. And when it happens, they're still not going to know what to do.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. To tie this all back in, it's like there's seasons, and you can be grateful for those seasons. And you can look back at a season where you didn't show up the way you were. And I've also realized, like, the seasons that were difficult and challenging and hard, I can just accept that that's what it is and learn from it. And if I resist it, and why did this have to happen to me, and push back against it, my life's worse. And I can be grateful for all of them, all the times. And the best one to be grateful for is the right now. Like, to look at whatever's going on in your life and realize, hey, I can make a choice to still show up as a leader, to be happy, to be present. And, whether it's a season of prosperity or a season of pain, like, to be grateful for the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just kind of want to double down on what you just said. And for me, my belief is we're basically a culmination of all of our experiences that from the time we're born to now. Who we are today, the way we see ourselves, the way we see the world, is all based on the experiences we've had up until this point. And I caution people when they get stuck on an event from their childhood or even last week or whatever, that it's not helpful to dwell on those things. But in my opinion, you're also challenging or questioning, do I like who I am? When you give an experience so much weight, because that experience is part of who you are today. And without those experiences, you wouldn't be who you are today. And so I challenge everybody just to keep in mind that even the really uncomfortable circumstances, scenarios, things we have to deal with at moments in our life, or, for some people daily, they're shaping who we are. And I truly hope that everybody loves themselves, because you should.
Yep. Yeah. It's, we talk about it all the time, but you always have a choice. You always have a choice to look at your circumstances, past, present, circumstances that could be coming down the road, and choose how you're going to act, choose how you're going to what the meaning you're going to assign to it is. Sometimes we let the world assign the meaning, and you have a choice on what things mean.
Yeah.
Which, that's a whole nother rabbit hole we could go down. We won't dive into today.
Well, by any circumstances, good or bad, I mean, we get a choice, like you're saying, and we can either grow from them, or we can honestly go the other way. And
well,
so
even to what you're saying, Tate, like, even to say good and bad, that's just, we've assigned a meaning to it. Like,
yeah.
Is it good or bad, or was it neutral, and we've decided that was a bad thing that happened to us?
Maybe uncomfortable is a better, better term, rather than bad, because uncomfortable circumstances honestly might be good.
Right. Yeah.
Depending on how you respond to them.
Yeah. Right. Some of the hardest moments in my life that I would have defined as a bad moment have actually been some of the best for me, or some of the or a lot of good has come out of those moments. So it's interesting. We could hammer over the details of the words, and it's just it's interesting. So well, Tate, I don't know, any last thoughts you have for our listener today?
No, I think I kind of got my the jumbled up mess in my brain out today. Whether it makes any sense to anybody today or not, that's up for them to decide. And hopefully there's some tidbits from the both of us that can resonate with people. My hope with all of this is not to persuade anyone into one specific thought process. It's simply to ask the questions and challenge people to think and challenge themselves. So
yeah, and we're not saying if you might be in a season of hard right now, and you might be thinking, well, how can I choose to look at this like it's a good thing? And what if you did? What if you could? What would be the good thing you could be grateful for from it, or you could find in that moment? And if it is a season of great, be grateful for that. Enjoy that.
But just from my personal experience, I mean, there's some of those moments that are truly uncomfortable that it may be years later that you can pause and see, wow, because of that, X, Y, Z happened, and man, that probably worked out way better. And so don't give up hope if trying to be grateful in the moment is extremely challenging, because it is at times. And just remember to take pause at times and think back, because you can probably find those moments.
Well, and to summarize, I think one last thing besides being grateful in the moment, back to what you said earlier, Tate, if you can do the work on you and get clear on who you are, get clear on the things you want, like, you can really find peace in the middle of chaos. You can find that. It's possible. It's not easy. It's not. Yeah, it's really easy for us to sit here on a podcast and say that. And it's something you could choose to experience.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks for tuning in today, and make sure you go share this with a friend if this resonates with you. If you aren't subscribed, subscribe to the podcast. And if you're looking for more help, feel free to reach out to me, Matt or Tate, anytime. To our listener, today's the day.
Thanks for joining us on the Everyday Leader podcast. If you're ready to take your leadership journey even further, subscribe to our weekly newsletter for more insights and practical tips. And don't forget to connect with us on Instagram to stay a part of our growing community. Just follow the links in the show notes. If this episode impacted you, please help us spread the word and share the link with a friend from wherever you're listening.